You are listening to the REI Mastermind podcast. Join JD as he chats with industry-leading real estate experts and professionals. We learn from their experience and uncover the strategies to their success that we can implement into our own businesses, and we can drive immediate results today. They share their experience and wisdom as we build a foundation to our own success. This is the REI Mastermind Network.
We have Tony Javier on the line tonight. And Tony, I've been looking forward to this conversation because you're going to be bringing what I would consider an old school concept to marketing and finding these discounted properties. But before we start, I really want to make sure that everybody heads over to realestateMastersTV.com for more information, because there's even a video on there that's a brief video that kind of summarizes what you're doing there. And it's, frankly, I'm just finding it quite fascinating. And I'm going to start things off by asking you the big question. You're talking about advertising in real estate and advertising on television to find these discounted properties. How did you come around to this niche? Because I know you've been in real estate investing now for like 20 years.
Yeah, great question. So yeah, I've been in the business 20 years. Actually, 2005, I had that vision of doing TV commercials. So I did TV commercials for a few months, had no idea what I was doing, did it on my own. And after about 3 months, I was getting some leads, and I'm like, you know what, $3,000 a month was a lot to me at the time. So I'm like, you know what, I'm going to shut it off. Well, right when I told my rep to shut it off, we ended up getting a nice profitable deal, and I still got cold feet on it, and I stopped doing TV. So that was 2005. So fast forward 7 years later, a buddy of mine who I just met, I'd probably known him for 6 months, invited me to come play poker. And so when I went to go play, I noticed a guy that I'd seen on TV, and he had a construction company, and that's what he did. And so I had that kind of celebrity kind of like, ooh, I'm playing poker with this guy on TV kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so I just started picking his brain and asking him, like, how did you get on TV? Like, is that doing good for you? And he's like, man, we get so much business off of that. It's insane. And he's like, I have a guy that helps me do that. He's a media buyer. Why don't you get in contact with him, and he'll take you through the whole thing. And, maybe it's for you, maybe it's not, but I think that might be cool for your house buying business. So long story short, get in contact with him within, I don't know, maybe 60 days, might've been 30 days. I can't remember the time frame. Had a TV commercial on the air. My media buyer found the right stations. He negotiated really good rates for me, produced the commercial. It looked 100 times better than my previous commercial that I did on my own. And within the first month, $3,000 again spent. I spent the first month, popped a $35,000 deal. And the rest is history. 9 years, it's been the most consistent form of leads. It's something that not very many people are doing. I've got all these things that I can go through, and I'll try and touch on some of them here in a little bit. But yeah, TV's just been great to me. Everybody's doing direct mail and cold calling and texting and all of that, but really nobody's doing TV. So that's why I like to talk about TV. That's why I like to help real estate investors get on TV, because it's a blue ocean. Not many people know about it. And if they do know about it, they don't know how to do it. And I feel like over the last 9 years, I've been able to, I don't want to say perfect it, but I know what works, what doesn't. I know, what TV shows have worked really well for me. I mean, I pretty much over the last 9 years tracked a lot of different things, and feel like I've kind of got it down to a science.
Mm-hmm. So you've already touched on it a little bit now, but it sounds, you've mentioned that it's the most consistent form of lead generation. Is that one of the benefits of doing TV commercials?
Yeah, so I have many benefits, but for the lack of time, when someone asks me about the benefits, I narrow it down to 5. So I'll just give you 5 real quick benefits of TV. So the first one is credibility, first and foremost. If you think about all of the big brands that a lot of them you've seen on TV, and a lot of them are big brands because of TV, right? I compare it to like Frosted Flakes, Tony to Tiger, you're great, Lucky Charms, Magically Delicious. Like They have slogans, they have brands, and you wouldn't know about them if it wasn't for TV. So now you walk down the aisle and you look and you see the cereals, you're probably going to buy one of the name brands you've seen on TV. And those name brands are no different than the ones that are at the bottom that are generic, but people pay more for them because they feel like they know and trust them, right? So it's the same thing with real estate. It just builds so much credibility. In fact, we have people that get our postcards that say we got 4 or 5 other postcards or whatever the number is, but we called you first because we've seen your commercial. We know you guys are a legit company. We don't know these other guys, right? So there's just that credibility that TV gives you in the celebrity status. So that's number one. So number 2, little to no competition. I think I kind of mentioned that already. Not many people are doing it. So that's something you can get in front of your, be the first over your competition to some of those deals, as opposed to fighting over those same deals that people are on, everybody's lists, right? 3, it's high ROI, right? So, last year we got a 10x return on our money. And when I say high ROI, I always like to touch on what I call ROT, which is return on time. Because like last year, I spent myself 3 hours max on my TV last year. It was basically shooting 2 new commercials and meeting with my media buyer a couple times just to go over our schedules and things like that. Other than that, it's set it and forget it. So very high ROI, but very high return on time as well. So number 4 is it's very automated. So I kind of already touched on that, but once you do the work up front to shoot the commercial and you air it, once it starts working, you don't really have to worry about it. I look at my numbers every month to every quarter, just depending. And, as long as the numbers are staying consistent over a 3-month period, then I don't worry about it. I don't do anything unless I just feel like I want to test. Like this year's our 20th year in business. So I shot a new commercial for being in business 20 years. But other than that, I could air the same commercial. I think I've aired the same commercial for about 2 or 3 out of the 9 years that I've been doing TV, and it still produces. So very automated. And then number 5 is it helps you with other forms of marketing and has other benefits outside of just direct return. So I mentioned direct mail. Another one is private money. If you raise private money, that's something that will be much easier for you to do. I've actually had someone contact me and actually walk into our office and say, hey, I want to invest in real estate. I see your commercials. I want to invest in real estate, but I really don't want to fix and flip. Like, what are the other options? So within about a 12-month period, I turned him on to private money right away. Within a 12-month period, him and his family had about $1 million invested with me within about a 12-month period. And they still continue 5 years later to invest in my deals today. So there are many other benefits that I could go on and on about, but I like to talk about those top 5 because I think those really touch the surface on how TV can help real estate investors in their game. And it just totally sets you apart from your competition. Yeah.
It's funny you brought up the credibility because it was probably a year ago. I had read somewhere about there's something psychologically that you being on a screen, it adds credibility. Like to the average person, there's something about seeing you on a screen. I would even imagine that you probably get recognized in your local market if you're even in the grocery store.
That's interesting. That's where I get recognized the most. And the interesting thing is I live in San Diego, California now, and the market I invest in is Wichita, Kansas, which where I was born and raised. So I was able to luckily get my team built out where they do all the hard work for me. So I just work a few hours a week in that business now, and I live in San Diego. So when I fly into Wichita and I go to the grocery store, I have people all the time, you're the TV guy, or you look familiar, or, they just strike up conversations like they know me. And it's like, who, would you randomly talk to a person in the market? Some people do, but most people don't randomly just go up and talk to someone in the grocery store. But that happens all the time when I'm in Wichita. And it's, I pay to be on TV, and they act like people pay me to be on TV, right? That's kind of the celebrity status that you get, whether you pay to be on TV or not.
Yeah, just to remind everybody, if you want more information on this, make sure you head over to realestatemasters.tv.com. And I know that you also have a podcast, right?
Yeah. Real Estate Masters podcast. Names are very similar. So yeah, I've been running a podcast for not quite a year yet, quite a year now, but yeah, just like I think we've had some of the same guests on our shows and have a lot of the same networks. So
Yeah, no, definitely subscribe to that. And if you do me a favor, while you're there looking for his podcast, give me 5 stars so that it helps both of us a little bit. So you were saying that this is automated. When you start putting out this ad, do you find that there's any ebbs and valleys, even seasonally, when you're producing these commercials?
it's not really seasonal. Like for instance, we did, we're filming this in February. January, we did 4 deals off of TV. So $5,000 ad spend will bring back over $100,000 in return, right? February, I don't think we've done any quite this year. We're not quite at the end of February. So I don't think it's necessarily seasons. It's, we may pop 4 or 5 deals in 1 month off TV, and then next month 1, next month 3. I mean, it's not really, I don't think it's seasonal. But just like any marketing method, it's ebbs and flows. So I can't sit here and say I do 3 deals, 4 deals consistently every single month. If anybody said that about any marketing method, there might be 1 or 2 that are a little more consistent, like cold calling and texting, that are very labor intensive. But for the most part, when you're doing any mass marketing, I mean, it's hard to predict what month you're going to get deals and what month you're not going to.
Sure. You know, you and I, before we hit record, I was asking you about like some of the online video services and like, do some of these advertisements hit that? But now that I start to think about that, that's likely not the audience you're after. I mean, a lot of the people that we're talking to are still watching broadcast television and in the local markets and listening to the radio.
Yeah, all the shows we hit are local stations that are going to be local stations in every single market and most likely be on most networks. So, Cox Communications, I think Spectrum is one locally here in California, YouTube TV. I think Hulu even has local stations now, if I'm not mistaken, on their service. So as long as it's a local station, we're there. So obviously Netflix doesn't have commercials and things like that, but anything that has local networks, we're there.
Sure. One of the things that I think would be one of the harder things is that if I was somebody that came off the street, because in another life, I used to sell radio advertising, and if somebody came knocking on my door looking for radio time, they're always going to get the highest rate. Because I was, instantly going, okay, I got a fish. I'm ready to have a big sale here. How do you prevent that from happening? Like what should be, how do you pursue this type of thing?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when I first did it in 2005, I didn't know what a good rate was. So I'm pretty darn sure I didn't get near as many commercials in 2005 as I got in 2012, because my media buyer is the one that negotiated all the rates for me. Mm-hmm. So just like you said, if I went into the station, they would give me their highest rate, and then maybe I can negotiate from there. Whereas a media buyer goes in and he goes gunslinging and says, hey, what kind of rate can you get my client? Because I need to get him good rates so he gets good results so that he keeps buying, because the media buyer gets paid from the station. Mm-hmm. And so the last 9 years, my media buyer has been instrumental in making sure that I'm getting the best rates, that I know about any kind of specials that are going on. And so when I teach my students how to do it, not only do I teach them everything I know about TV and give them all of the background and all of the behind the scenes stuff, but I have my media buyer work with them as well, which streamlines the process dramatically and gets them better rates. So if someone were to go do it on their own, they'd probably spend weeks, if not months, going to different stations, getting different rates. And you know how it is. If you go to all 4 stations, 5 stations, whatever you go to, they're all going to tell you they're the best. They're all going to tell you what they want you to do. Whereas if you have a media buyer on your side, it's kind of like the difference between representing yourself in court as opposed to having an attorney, right? You can get away with it, but chances are you're going to have better results if you have someone on your side. So the media buyer has been instrumental in doing that, and for all of my students.
Sure. So you mentioned that this really kind of supports your other marketing efforts. Like in this case, you send out yellow letters as well. Is there anything else that you typically do in conjunction with the TV ads?
Yeah, we do a lot of things. TV is where we spend the most money by far. We spend just a little bit of money on Facebook retargeting and Facebook ads. That's been hit and miss. We kind of go back and forth on that. Google pay-per-click, that's just consistent. I spend $1,000 a month and we get, 2 or 3 deals a year off of it, I'm guessing. Maybe a little bit more in some years. So that's low cost, decent return. We're on and off with direct mail. We actually stopped for 2 years. We just started again and it hasn't been producing very good results. So we may end up shutting it off again. We've done some cold calling, didn't like that. We've done some texting, and it's very labor intensive, but it's been good returns. We've gotten a few deals over the last, 6 months or so since we started it. So it hasn't been horrible. So yeah, we sprinkle a lot of things that, get us onesie twosies here and there, but I love TV because it's much more consistent. And I didn't even mention this, but it kind of has to go with high ROI. But when you look at TV leads, they're more, first of all, they're higher quality leads, and then there's less competition. So you should be able to negotiate better deals. So we find that our best ROI and the best profit margins are off of TV leads. Because again, like if you go on direct mail leads, chances are someone else hit that list and you're maybe competing. If they go on Google go on Google and they find your pay-per-click ad, chances are they're interviewing 3 to 4 other people. But whereas when you hit them on TV before they're thinking about selling, and this is what I say on my commercials is, if you've been thinking about selling your home, give us a call, and that kind of triggers in their mind, well, I was thinking about selling 6 months from now, but I'm thinking about it. And people have said that before. Well, you said I'm thinking about selling. It's going to be 6 months from now. And either we've gotten deals way earlier than when they were looking to sell, or they at least call us first so that when they're looking to sell 3 to 6 months down the road, my people can follow up with them and hopefully be on their radar before they contact anybody else.
So when somebody starts this type of marketing campaign, like I can see a lot of people trying it. Like you even said initially you tried it and then just kind of let it, you stopped and then saw somebody else being successful at it. Like how long do people have to typically let something like this run to see some reaction or some behavior from this? Because I'd have to say that this is likely something you'd have to be pretty consistent with.
Yeah, so it all depends on, there's so many different factors, right? It's, I encourage everybody to be in the commercials. There's some people that don't want to be, and that's fine. There's the message, there's the branding, there's the feel of the person, there's the size of the market, there's the budget compared to the size of the market that someone has. So there's so many different factors, but I've got student, I just did a testimonial with a student today. He's only been doing it 30 days now. He's gotten 51 leads. He's got 2 deals under contract that are going to net him, at least 50,000 or right around 50, no, just under 50,000. And he's got one other deal he put under contract that he could potentially make another 40,000 on. So he's got 48,000, I think the number was, in his first month, and then another 40,000 from another deal that he's potentially going to close. And he's got other deals he's following up with that he said 5 of them could potentially pan out. And that's in the first 30 days. So that's a very good success story, right? I've got another guy in Lexington, Kentucky. He's done, in his first 2 weeks, actually, he got 2 deals under contract, made 30 grand. And I haven't even talked to him the last 2 weeks. So he could have gotten another deal too since then. But first 2 weeks right out of the gate, made 30 grand off of his commercials. So those are fast success stories. And I myself popped a $35,000 deal in the first month. That gave me 10 times my money back just in the first month. So it can work very fast. But what I do is I like to under promise and over deliver. So what I tell people is, if you can get your money back within a 3 to 6 month period, that's a total win, because you've hit a ton of people in that period of time. And if they're not selling now, they may sell down the road. So if you can even break even within the first 3 to 6 months, I don't want that to happen. I want you to have a 3 to 5 to maybe 10x return in a short period of time. But like I said, I like to under promise and over deliver. So even if someone doesn't get result in 3 months, that fourth month, it might start popping. Just like I told you in 2005, I stopped after 3 months. The fourth and fifth month, I could have gotten maybe 2 deals a month moving forward from that marketing. But to your point, yeah, it's a patience game. So, even if you do have a great first month, the second month may be slow, the third month, but then the fourth month may pop again. So it's definitely a long-term play. Does ebb and flow, but I love seeing my students get success in the first month. It's really exciting to me.
Sure. Well, so I know this is a pretty loaded question because I'm sure it depends on the market, but what would somebody typically have to budget for something like this?
Yeah. So the guy that I told you, first 2 weeks, he only spent $1,850 in the first month, and he got 2 deals that made him 30 grand. The other gentleman that I told you about, that will have a $48,000 a month, potentially even more based on the other deals he's going to follow up with. He spent around $7,000, somewhere between $7,000 and $8,000 in that month. But he's in 2 markets. He's in 2 markets that are right next to each other. So on the low end, if you're in a small market, you can get away with $2,000 to $3,000 in a month. So if somebody's new in a smaller market, we can get them on the air and start getting them results. And then if you're looking at a bigger market, there's some markets we recommend not spending less than $10,000 a month, just because you can't get the frequency you need in a big market with less than 10,000. So yeah, you're right. It's market specific, but I would say, if you look in that $3,000 to $10,000 range, that's typically where most markets are.
Sure. I mentioned when we started that a lot of the people that listen to my show is very new to real estate investing. So they're always trying to wring every last penny out of their marketing dollar. So if you had to do this all over again, would TV be the first place you'd start?
Depends on my market. The short answer would be yes. Because I've done, well, actually when I got in the business was 2001. So phone book was big for me back then, right? So that was my big first marketing play. So if you asked me back then, phone book was the highest. I think I was getting 20 times the return on my money until, obviously it started phasing off. But right now I would say absolutely. And there are people, like for instance, I had a student yesterday, shot her TV commercial. She's investing in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, because she can get more ad spend for her money and do more deals. And she has boots on the ground there, but she lives in California. I've got a gentleman that lives in Miami, but he's marketing in Cleveland, Ohio, Tampa, Florida, and Orlando. So I guess what I'm getting to is, even if someone lives in a big market, like wholesaling, you can do anywhere in the U.S. I talk to people all the time that are doing deals in other markets. And this is something that is so scalable in other markets, because all you have to do is change the phone number and the domain on the commercial, plug it into that market. And with the help of my media buyer, he can get rates for you within about a week in that market, and have a schedule together and have you on the market on the air within a couple of weeks. So short answer to your question, yes. If you're in a big market, I would say find a smaller market to maybe do TV in. If you're in a small market, then you can get away with $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And, if you get one deal within the first 3 months, to me, it's worth it.
Sure. So, I always like to leave people with a couple actionable items, like something that they can implement and make some changes like right away. So if you had to get into real estate investing fresh for the first time, is there anything you would have done different that hindsight is 20/20, right?
Yeah. So I'll give two different answers to that. I'll give the answer to what I see most people doing. And I see a lot of people spending a crap load of money on education. Like I'm talking about, anywhere from $10,000 to 70 to I know one person that spent $100,000 on their education and coaching and setting up their LLCs and all this stuff, and they'd never done a deal before. I mean, if I could have taken that 100,000 and put it in TV for them, I mean, they could have been getting deals and leads right away, and been coached through the process of converting those leads, right? So for someone that has money and they're looking to invest it in a bunch of money into education, I think TV. I mean, obviously I'm biased, but I think TV is the way to invest it. As long as you have either someone that can help you do the deals, or you can know how to do the deals yourself, right? So that's what I recommend for other people. So for me starting out, not only TV would have been a great thing, but just getting mentorship, getting guidance, right? So, JD, I believe you have a mastermind. So being in masterminds is incredible. I run masterminds. I buy into masterminds. Like I think that is one of the best things you can do, because masterminds are not only as good as investing in coaching, but it's almost like you get the advice and the experience of dozens of people in the mastermind, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not just one person you're hiring to get their perspective. Surrounding yourself with the best people. So really it's just people in general. It's getting in the right masterminds. It's getting the right coach if you hire a coach. It's hiring the right employees, and just the right contractors, just the right people. You just have to have the right people that you surround yourself with, and that you trust in, and that bring you up to a higher level. Because if you have the wrong people, they can bring you down. If you have the right people, they can take you to the moon.
So, well, with that being said, make sure you check out Tony's mastermind. If you go to remmastermind.com, you'll find that information. I know that there's an application process to join that group, right?
There is. Right now, I'm doing something very special. But yeah, they can go and apply and take a look at it. So a lot of it, what I've done in the past is experienced investors. So I have guys in it that are doing 30, 50, 100 plus, even up to 500 deals a year. So it's a very high level group. And recently I opened it up to newer investors that can actually listen in on those masterminds and still be a part of it. Because what we do is we collaborate. It's like, hey guys, you're doing a ton of deals. We're all doing a ton of deals. What's working for everybody? What's not working? Who needs advice? So it's almost better than coaching, like I said, because you get to see what everybody's doing and just take those nuggets away and implement in your business. And I love running the masterminds, and I get so much every time we have a mastermind call, and there's always things that I'm implementing from those calls. So.
Right. And then again, remember to head over to realestateMastersTV.com if you'd like more information regarding running TV commercials. And I know that your team will almost do everything and anything and everything for them, including creating scripts and buying those slots and establishing the schedule. And, if you really want to, you could just hand it over to Tony's team and for complete automation, right?
Absolutely. It's almost turnkey. Yep.
Almost turnkey. Well, I really appreciate your time. And this was very insightful. I hope we can chat again sometime. I'd love to pick your brain around your mastermind sometime.
Sounds great, JD. I appreciate your time, and thanks for having me on.
Well, thank you.
This has been the REI Mastermind Network. You can already tell that we've made some changes, and a few more are on the way. If you are interested in what we have planned, head over to patreon.com/REI Mastermind and support the show today. Financial contributions are always appreciated, along with a like, share, and review. It really helps us grow and reach more people with this valuable information. See you next time, and tell a friend.